All right, Ms. Whitefox, I believe we have two delegations. Can we move the first individual over, please?
Certainly. Mr. John Holford is our first delegate.
Welcome, John. If possible, it would be great if you could turn your video on.
No.
Welcome, John. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Clear.
So-
Adjustment.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Just give us one moment, please.
Okay, sorry.
Our speakers were just a bit loud, John, so we're just turning.
Okay. James, can you see me?
No, we cannot.
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna try to get this to work here. Why isn't this work? There it goes. That work now?
There we go. Yeah, so you can start whenever you're ready, John.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name is John Holford. For the record, I'm here to appeal the Christmas show permit at 20 Fox Run Drive. My family and I live on Fox Run. We have lived there for over 10 years. We moved from the city of Guelph, the south end of Guelph, to avoid the urban sprawl in search of a quieter rural lifestyle. And our 12-year-old son attends Aberfoyle Public School. Thank you for giving me the opportunity today to speak in front of council. I'm going to discuss concerns we have with the permit, requests we have if the permit is granted, and a brief summary and some personal thoughts. To start, let me make it clear that all three letters of appeal are requesting the removal of the show component of the display only. We are in no way proposing the removal of the Christmas lights or the celebration of Christmas. To speak about concerns, we have three concerns, which are safety, the liability, and the charitable donations. First, safety. During the show, we have witnessed and been affected by crowds of people standing in the middle of Fox Run Drive on a blind corner at the bottom of the hill in the dark, observing the show. Vehicles parked on either side of the street are preventing the flow of traffic, resulting in us unable to get to our home or to leave this subdivision in a timely manner. Our street does not have sidewalks. Our residents are forced to walk on the road. Once vehicles have viewed the show, we have witnessed cars aggressively driving at high speeds, exiting the end of the subdivision, creating an unsafe environment for people walking their pets. During the show, there have been counts of cars swerving in the ditch as a result of halted traffic. This happened at 11 Fox Run Drive. One of our residents witnessed a child nearly run over by a car in the dark as a child was walking to view the show in the middle of the road at 20 Fox Run. Because of the volume of traffic from the show, we know of personal support workers and home care workers having to abandon their vehicle on Gordon Brock Road in front of the subdivision and walking into the subdivision to care for their elderly ailing patients. During the show, there have been reports of illegal activity, pickpocketing, smoking marijuana, and trespassing on private property. Due to social media, which is impossible to control, there have been open invitations for the show to our neighborhood reaching tens of thousands of people, which we have witnessed escalate year after year. This scenario is an accident waiting to happen. This leads to my next point, liability. If the township grants this permit and there is an accident as a result of the permit and someone suffers life-altering injuries or even death, would the township be liable? Have we opened ourselves up for a lawsuit? Our third concern is the collection and distribution of charitable donations made by showgoers. Many people are led to believe the funds will be going directly to the school. However, Sean has publicly stated through an email to our neighborhood association that he would first use the charitable donations and money he has donated to pay for any fines he incurs from breaking the bylaw. Is this even legal? Which brings another question. Is there a tax receipt being given to Sean for these charitable donations? These are all valid concerns that need to be addressed if this permit is granted. If these concerns cannot be addressed, the permit needs to be denied. First, we have three requests. The first request is, if the permit is granted, we want 3 paid duty police officers on location during the show. 1 at the intersection of Brock Road and Fox Run Drive to control the traffic coming into the subdivision. 1 at the intersection of Fox Run and Deerview to safely control the flow of traffic and give right to the way of neighbors walking their dogs through that intersection. And the last one, the last paid police officer we would want at the location of 20 Fox Run to deal with crowd control and deter any illegal activity that may occur. Second request is, we want the bylaw officer on location during show times to ensure the permit isn't being breached. And lastly, we want the township to appoint a third party for collection and the delivery of the charitable funds collected from the choice to the charity of Sean's choice. In summary, I think it's important not to lose sight of what warranted this bylaw. As we witnessed in the past, this show can quickly escalate and lead to an unsafe environment. Perhaps the social media feed that promoted the show has been deleted, but the attention, promotion the show has gone a different path through Guelph Today, posts shared on What's Happening Puslin's Facebook page. In addition, Active Parents and Glareton are advertising the show currently for the 2022 show. As a result of what has transpired over the last few days with these media outlets, the forecast of 100 cars per day may be low. If these estimates are low and the show escalates to 500 cars a night, will the township have control measures in place to handle it? As we stated in the Peel letter, the show is better suited for a commercial location. Residential streets cannot be permitted to be turned into drive-in theaters. If a resident requests this permit on County Road 34, would council grant it? Residential streets are for residential static light displays. Our request is that Sean's light display be a residential light display where a permit is not required. Personal thoughts. We have been disappointed this week with how this appeal has played. There is a process and we have followed it. There is an opportunity to appeal the permits, which we chose to do. Unfortunately, Sean has turned these appeals into public shamings through neighborhood emails, social media posts. He has chosen to play neighbor against neighbor. As a result, he has tainted the appeal process by deterring anyone to come forward in the future that opposed to the show. On this premise alone, his permit application rights should be revoked. Sean will be speaking next, and I expect his antics to be over the top as usually are. He will present a petition that he has control. My question is, has any of these names been validated by a third party? Regardless of how many people sign it, as a community, we cannot allow a resident to take over and control a public road. It is important as a community that we have these open discussions without intimidation or bullying, and that we work together to compromise and find legal and safe solutions. If this permit is denied, and the suggestion is for the show to be relocated to the Puslin's Community Center, and all donations are accounted for, our family would support and volunteer if wanted to help in any way we can. On record, if this permit process continues the way it is now, our family will appeal the application for the permit every time. Our neighborhood is a residential area and not zoned for commercial use. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your delegation. Is there any questions from council for the delegate? Nope. Okay, John, appreciate you coming in, taking time from your day to present to us.
Thank you.
The council receives a delegation by John Wolford regarding the publicized display application at 20 Fox Run Drive for information.
Can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Hurst, seconded by Councillor Spills. All in favor? Carried. Okay, our next delegate, please. Excuse me. John, welcome.
Hi, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Can hear you.
Perfect.
Whenever you're ready, Sean.
Sure. I just want to say before I saw John's, it was a good presentation and there's a lot of legitimate points there and it's definitely something we should be talking about. But I'm going to go ahead and say my speech, so to speak, that I prepared, starting now. So hello, council members and Mayor Seeley. Thank you for giving me the opportunity today to address the letter of appeal submitted by the neighbors John and Kathy Holford, as well as similar letters to council from Andy Hogg and a person claiming to represent the neighbors impacted by the publicized nuisance display at 22 Fox Run Drive. I'm thankful for those particular neighbors going on public record as being strongly against the display, as these are the same neighbors who spearheaded the creation of this bylaw. But I'm so honestly incredibly frustrated at this point with this display bylaw because no other municipality, at least in my mind, seems to have it. I have to go through an application, a permitting process, and then leave it open to appeal in order for me to do a Halloween or Christmas-like display. It's a waste of my extremely valuable time and a huge waste of council's time and township resources. In previous statements, I made the council, I made the following clear, but for the sake of the completeness, I'm going to say them again here. This bylaw, in my opinion, was prompted by the repetitive seasonal complaints of the same neighbors who are against our displays at 20 Fox Run Drive. I've asked council in the past to acknowledge how many unique neighbors put in bylaw complaints over the years. Not how many complaints total, but how many unique residents of our 55+ home neighborhood have complained and no answer was given. However, over time, I've come to determine that it is 3 or 4 who are strongly against it, including the Holfords and the Hoggs, both of which wrote letters. Instead of operating in an informed and democratic manner, the township proceeded to create this bylaw just to restrict our display. They clearly didn't take into consideration the majority of Fox Run neighbors who support it or simply do not care about our display, 42 of which I have signatures of support for, and I'm happy to share them with council and with the neighbor's permission, even John Holford. They didn't care about the thousands of people who enjoy our family-oriented, fun-loving, tasteful holiday displays, and they didn't care about the positive mental health effects our displays have had during these past years of lockdowns, where families finally had something free, safe, and enjoyable to do that provided a semblance of normalcy when everything else was closed. They most definitely didn't care that the fact that we have not raised thousands, but tens of thousands of dollars for local causes such as beginnings family services with wealth, and more recently, the Aberfoyle Public School. This isn't my speech, but I heard John saying I'm happy to discuss that, provide proof, have the principal provide proof of all funds distributed, yada, 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 no tax receipt. With this said, I also want to be clear on one very important thing and play the devil's advocate for a moment, as members of the media and the public clearly watch these council recordings. This entire issue is not directly the fault of the township. The township, like any local municipality does, it only addresses issues from its constituents when issues arrive. The township didn't go out and say, hey, we don't like this guy's Halloween Christmas displays, let's shut him down. In this case, the issue is that not that we put on a tasteless display or it's too noisy or it's too late or that it's even a nuisance. The core issue is traffic. I'm just saying that because you guys know that, I know that, but it seems that a lot of people don't understand that. Specifically, the claims from these handful of neighbors that the traffic is disruptive and dangerous. The mayor and council used reports from these neighbors that dangerous conditions, including the inability for an ambulance to get by, was in fact true and accurate. No traffic study was done, no video evidence was reviewed to prove otherwise, and they certainly didn't consult me. However, the township is well within their power to do away with this poorly constructed bylaw that seemingly the majority of the public strongly disagrees with. In other words, what I'm saying is I don't blame council entirely for this problem, and anyone listening to this as a replay shouldn't either. They're doing the job they signed up for, and unfortunately, they're just using biased and inaccurate information to create an overreaching bylaw that applies only to me. I've asked council if anyone else in the township is required to get a permit for the display, and I've yet to get an answer. I do know the multiple residents of Old Ruby Lane and Audrey Meadows, whose Christmas spirit and many like displays that my family and I absolutely love, but nevertheless cause a parking lot of cars on the public road on the days leading up to Christmas do not require a permit. Now, when I say that I'm thankful for the appeal letter from John and Kathy Holford, I mean it because now they've gone on actual public record that they are against it. And I want to bring up the biased and inaccurate and just plain old hypocritical issues that are in this appeal. The Holfords were one of the regularly complaining parties to the township bylaw officers over the years that their bias and opinions likely had some bearing during the creation of this bylaw, which inherently cast doubt on the legitimacy of the issues the bylaw was created to address. In John and Kathy Holford's appeal letter, they indicated they are a low-key, fun-loving family that loves holidays, festivities, and enjoys a good party. The truth of the matter is, on October 21st, 2018, at my daughter's 5-year-old friend's birthday party, Kathy Holford, along with her son, came up to my wife and started drilling us about our display. They asked if we even cared what the neighbors thought. They told me that their son was nearly hit on his bike. However, there's one statement that she made that my wife and I heard very clearly and has taunted me to this day. When she asked me, do you really want to bring these type of people into our neighborhood? And I think at that point I was shocked. I wasn't quite sure what to say. I was just kind of get her out of the way, but I can only assume that this refers to economic status and is not a racial issue. However, I can tell you that my dentist, realtor, lawyer, fellow business owners in my circle all bring their families to see our display, and each one of them is probably much higher up in the economic ladder than the Holfords are. So while any smart person would deny saying this, you can see that the bias in the Holfords appeal letter, and I quote, strangers screaming and running through our backyard, teenagers smoking marijuana on the side of the road, which, by the way, is legal since October 2018. Welcome to Canada. And I have also heard of pickpocketers in attendance. Now, if you don't see the problem, it gets more interesting. That one-way conversation happened in October 2018, but during November 2017, the Holfords opened up their home to the general public for Guelph's Joy of Christmas home tour. To clarify, this allows random strangers, possibly those type of people by the Holford standards, to enter and tour their home, all while parking on and congesting the street we share, known as Fox Run Drive.
John.
In this
John.
public letter of appeal, the Holfords also, and I quote, residential roads are for residential displays, and our permit is better suited to commercial zone.
John, is there a part of your presentation that deals with the nuisance that the appellant has identified in their paperwork versus just this neighborhood dispute that you're going on a long explanation of?
Yep, there is. I'm getting to that. And the statements help establish the clear bias and inaccurate statements made by the Holfords, which have direct bearing on the legitimacy of the bylaw, lawyer speak. I expect I will get additional time to complete my statement and make up for this interruption. It may or may not be known that the Holfords run a floral distribution business out of their home on Fox Run Drive known as Flowers Design. And despite the name, a 5-ton truck from a flower distributor drives down the road once a week to deliver wholesale flowers to the Holfords. It's not a small cargo van, a UPS truck. It is a 5-ton truck with a dock level loading that can move 10,000 pounds of cargo. So to make matters worse, the Whole Foods also have a dedicated cargo van, which they park at their house without rear windows. It is a floral delivery van. On the company's website, it says we are a boutique by appointment only floral design studio with a small team of professional florists. By this statement, clients can come shop at their home, possibly have employees, and they have a full-size distribution truck delivering goods for purpose of resale. Yet Plus Lynch granted them a building permit to build a secondary auxiliary garage on the property. What I'm getting at here is the Whole Foods are against our display because it draws traffic and apparently unsavory people. It's not appropriate for a residential area, but they're allowed to open up their home for public tours and operate a resale and distribution business from their home year-round. That is literally the definition of hypocrisy. They're claiming that I do these boosts to 10,000 social media followers, but without giving council and the Whole Foods a lesson in queuing theory, doing the math, and if they actually say that 20,000 people come to our display at 100% peak efficiency, and knowing that 9 cars at once can view our display all at once, assuming they sit there for 6 minutes each, and somehow in a split second, 9 more cars take their place every single minute we're operating, we would need 55 hours of total time to meet this demand. And in reality, distributing cars, accounting for slow periods, and the massive inefficiencies of the separate queue line, we need more than 120 hours to get 5,000 cars through. That's the tens of thousands of people with 4 people per car. The truth is our display is only on for 24 hours or less each season over the course of 7 or 8 nights. Our absolute busiest periods are Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday. The rest of the week is tame. What I'm getting here is do the math and come back to reality. Our display is busy and causes some traffic congestion on our road during those busiest nights. But 80,000, 20,000, even 10,000 people that the Whole Foods claim are being invited to our display or coming to our display in their letter is simply and completely inaccurate and impossible. So the people that do come, we have signage that we paid for to make sure that they stay on the side of the road, one side of the road, they don't block neighbors' driveways, and they do not park in front of our driveway. To the Whole Foods and the Hogs in particular, it's a minor inconvenience, if any, because their homes aren't even located near where our display is or where the line of cars would be. Now, since 2016, I've learned a lot doing this. It's in my best interest to keep things efficient, manageable, and reduce the impact on our neighbors, most of whom are patient, supportive, and understanding. The Whole Foods are correct in their statement that we have had the Sweet Temptations cupcake truck here in the past. Part of their sales was being donated at the time. And for the last 3 years, they haven't been here. We have a giant sign in our yard. We project it on our house. We broadcast it over FM channels that people need to stay in their car. Over the last 3 years, no one has gotten out of their car. It's viewed from the car. I know I'm a kooky person, clearly not exactly someone you want to have on the bad side, but why would any sane person ask people to step out of their cars and stand in the middle of the road to block traffic? Each year I make these improvements and schedule and timing modifications to alleviate some of the concerns of the neighbors like the Whole Foods and Hogs. But clearly that is not happening. So the fact is, I'm looking for the township to do away with this bylaw, or allow us to at least proceed as planned. And actually, I think John Holford's idea is relatively good, is that I've had many volunteers, including school volunteers, offer to have people out there with safety vests and flashlights to help direct traffic on the busiest nights, which are Fridays and Saturdays. All the other nights are pretty much dead. They would also be out there collecting donations should anyone want to roll down the window and drop a donation in a bucket. So I want to—
Sean, your time is up, Sean, so I'd like you to come to your concluding statement, please.
Okay, my concluding statement actually is my final remarks. In my final remarks, I want to explicitly point out the irony here that we deleted all of our social media pages. We vowed we wouldn't run any paid advertising. Our conditional display permit was granted, and we could have had a nice reduced traffic display. However, the township opened up the opportunity for the neighbors to appeal this permit and received 3 responses, which prompted this section of the council meeting. All of this published in the council briefings and agendas online. A local reporter, as John indicated from Guelph Today, has run with it. Chime FM ran with it after they read that article. 570 News did, and now 570 News and CTV, I think CTV's there, have reached out to me for an interview. I didn't have to reach out to any of these news outlets, and I'm certainly not going to turn down a chance to get my frustrations across. But by appealing something as good intentioned as our Halloween and Christmas display, these 3 neighbors and council have created their own media firestorm, which is giving me more exposure to our Halloween display and our Christmas display than my social media pages ever did. This is going to happen every Halloween and Christmas, maybe even Diwali, should the township not see the errors in its ways and just leave me alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Is there any questions from council for the delegate? Councilor Spose.
Yes, you mentioned in your presentation that your cycle time for your display is 6 minutes, is that right?
My original, I was using 6 minutes to calculate queue line timing because I was using John Holford's, I think it's the last 3 years. So our previous display was 6 minutes. My current, where's the application? I think I've said that I want to bring it down to 4 minutes to help appease council and residents. So we're limiting it to 4 minutes, our Christmas display this year, because, well, for obvious reasons, to try and make everybody happy. But the numbers I used to calculate that were 6 minutes because that was what we used to do.
Okay, so what do you expect people to do in those 4 minutes? To stay there, park, look at the display? Is that basically it?
That's correct. During that, essentially what we have is everything's on a loop, right? So just loops 4 minutes approximately. Otherwise, it's just the same thing over and over, which no one's going to want to see. So they go, I don't know if you've ever seen our property, but we have, I don't know, like 300 feet of frontage, something ridiculous. So basically 9 to 10 cars can line up on their side of the road at one point, and they all have visibility of our display. Once our display is done, they literally leave and the next set of cars goes up.
I have a couple more questions.
Yeah, of course.
You have a time of 6 to 9 and for 7 days. What's the rationale for the 6 to 9 and for the 7 days?
Yeah, good question. So 6 to 9 p.m. It's actually 6:30 to 9 p.m. For Halloween, 6 to 9 p.m. for Christmas, because we have high brightness commercial projectors and they need relative darkness, like to work, right? If I turn on these projectors that we have, our video projectors, at dusk, it's not going to really have that much of effect. So we need to do it in the dark. But I have young kids. Most of the families that come out to see us are young families, so they have young kids. I don't want to run it past 9 p.m. I don't want to upset any more neighbors than I have in this case. I don't want to have any sort of noise after 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. So 6 to 9 p.m. to me seemed like a reasonable time, captures the darkness, and limits it to 3 hours a night. And as far as 7 nights, it's to spread out the potential interests, because if I did it for 2 nights or 3 nights, we might actually genuinely have a serious problem where, you know, you've got, say, 2,000 people that were planning on coming in, 2,000 people or whatever, say 100 or say 1,000 cars that want to see it during the season. If I want to squeeze that into 2 nights, we're going to have way more traffic congestion than we possibly have on a Friday or Saturday. So by doing it, I mean, we had previously done the past 7 to 9 nights. And like I said, my current application is 7 nights. By doing it 7 nights, we're spreading out the volume, so to speak.
Great. And the last question, to do with your sound system, you have people can tune in on radios to hear the thing. Do you have an actual sound system at the same time?
A what? Sorry?
Audio sound system that you have the radio.
Oh, yeah. No, I understand your question.
Speakers mounted as a.
Yeah, so technically sort of, but not what you're getting at is that we have a speaker out there that is on very, very low. So I can make sure so it's basically for my benefit, if I'm out in the yard, I can make sure the sound is coordinated with the video. But that's one of the reasons we don't have a sound system. I don't want people getting out of their cars, standing there on the road or on the side, even on the side of the road, because people were never on the road. They're always on the side of the road, despite what the appellant has said. They're always on the side of the road, but when we did it before COVID, but we want people in their cars. We have signs, tune into the radio station, don't get out of your vehicle. You know, Scott signs, prints all these signs in this. Like I got them all in my warehouse. I'd be happy to show them to you.
I'm fine. Thank you very much for answering.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Councilor Bailey?
Sean, just a clarification question. You asked about you mentioned a 4-minute loop. Is that just constant, or is there a delay between the 4-minute show component?
That's a good question. And this year, because I'm actively trying to reduce that, I put like a 15, 20-second delay in between those things, because you believe it or not, if I just had it repeat like constantly, we would probably end up, again, the whole queuing theory thing, we would probably end up with people kind of sitting there running, oh, it's still on, I should stay. By having a definitive stop and a definitive act of nothing, it psychologically cues us that this is over, right? So move on. So it's actually kind of important to have that delay. And yeah, it's like 20 seconds. I think in the past we did it 30 seconds or 60 seconds, but assuming I'm doing this at Christmas, it's going to be 20 to 30 seconds. Again, with the intent to shorten the length that anybody's sticking around and just kind of keep anybody there. And again, I want to stress that this is literally, and I'm not, I'm not going to posture here. It is busy on Friday and Saturday night. Anybody that tells you otherwise, including myself, is lying. It is a busy thing. People love it, but it is that Friday and Saturday night are the worst nights. The rest of the nights during the week, you might have a lineup of 10 or 20 cars, which sounds like a lot, but considering 9 or 10 of them fit in front of my property, it's pretty consistently, it's clearing it up very, very quickly. I mean, I know a couple of the counselors there have brought their families, so they have physically been there to attest that, what we experience and how it works, so to speak.
Follow up,
Yeah.
Councilor Bailey?
I just have another, I think I heard you say that the cars lined up across the road from your property.
That is, yeah.
Is there a way they can be lining up on your side of the property? Like
They
on
could,
your side of the road?
They'd then be on oncoming traffic. Like we'd be putting cars into oncoming traffic, like just the position of our house, right? I'm an engineer, but I'm not so good with the north, south, east, west thing, but where our house is, the cars are going this way on the side of our house. Where they're parking, they're going this way because the entrance is driving in this way. If I want them to view from the other side, and if that's what council wants, I will do that. However, if I do that, that is then directing all that traffic and any potential lineup to directly in front of the Holfords and Hogs house. And I'm pretty confident John's not going to appreciate that. Whereas right now, all they see is traffic leaving. They don't see our show and they don't see any traffic. They actually don't see any traffic at all. They just see the traffic leaving the show. They don't see a display or a lineup from there where they are, but it would quite literally be the opposite in that case.
The traffic's coming in, you're suggesting the traffic's coming in off of Brock Road and
Yes.
leaving out of Brock Road?
Yep, because we have a loop, right? So Fox Run, so traffic comes in Brock Road. They, within a minute, come to our bend. They stay there, they do their watch or they goggle or whatever, or they drive on. Some people don't actually watch the show. They're just like, oh yeah, that's cool, let's go. And then they go down Fox Run, make a left onto Deerview Ridge, and then a right onto Fox Road, leaving the entrance they came in on. And again, part of that is thankful to our signage, which was one thing that people were the Holfords complained about in the letter, but that signage cost me money and it cost me my time to put up. I'm doing it for the benefit of the neighbors, actually, whether they see it or not. The cleaner I can make this, I'm not an idiot, guys. I'm doing this. I know it's an inconvenient for some neighbors. I want to make it as streamlined and smooth as possible. So those signs are 36 inches, 3 feet tall and 2 feet wide. And they're designed to make sure people stay in that loop, that they're not like, oh, I'm going to go off to Hammersley or I'm going to go off this way. Because then, we're dealing with even more issues, right? So yeah, so I'm confident the way we do it is the most efficient, but we could certainly try to get them to come off Brock Road, make a left on Deerview, make a right on Fox Run, but we're asking people to make 2 different turns instead of just driving straight. And I guess I'm not sure what the benefit would be. Either way, we still keep 1 lane open for traffic, walking, ambulances, anything. I've got video, right? That's a good thing. I'm good at Photoshop, but I can't take video.
Yep.
And it's open. It's not a flash mob in front of our house.
Councilor, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, I think you kind of answered the question. My question was about once people come through to view the display.
Yep.
Exit, how do they then leave the display? And I hear you're saying that they're traveling around the loop, but is there something to make the public aware that is the way they can exit? Because unless you're familiar with the subdivision, you may not know that there's a loop.
good question. Yeah,
So is
so-
there some kind of indication?
Yeah, okay, so that's good. So when our show, when it ends, again, everything goes black. It's like, whoo, done, okay? We know it's over. It says, thank you for visiting, thank you for your donations. So the idea is that people came in off Brock Road. Remember, they're all parked the same way. No one's on the opposite side of the street parked the opposite way. So no one's heading out to Brock Road. So I have yet to see any car do a U-turn, right? Because it just wouldn't make sense. So if they're done, they just keep driving. At the end of, once they go around the bend, they hit a stop sign, and in front of that, not in front of the stop sign, below the stop sign is one of my signs that says turn left exit. Like it's giant. It's bigger than the stop sign. Go this way. Then they go down Deerview Ridge. They see the stop sign, and below, turn right to exit. Go this way. Like it's very, very clear. Unless you're blind or cannot speak a word of English, it's very clear on how to get out to Brock Road. Because we want to make it clear.
Is there any further questions from council? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. Goose.
Thank you, guys.
Resolution received. Is you ready?
That council receives the delegation by Sean Goose regarding the publicized display application at 20 Fox Run Drive for information.
All right, can I get a move for that, please? Mr. Lewis, second by Councilor Guida. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. All right, next we have report 9.1.1. Mr. Button.
Good afternoon, Council. So the purpose of this report is to provide Council with a written notice of an appeal and comments received related to an application for publicized display located at 20 Fox Drive. The application was received and the appeal was received in accordance with the bylaw itself. The township received the application in October and approved it at a staff level. In November, we sent out a notice of application with the township's decision to every property owner on the street and anybody who under the bylaw would be reasonably understood to be affected by the display. On November 10th, the township received by registered mail that written notice of appeal, which is attached to the report. Today, council is being asked to hear any support and objections to the appeal, which we just heard through the delegations, and to make a decision on the appeal. As noted in the report, the decisions that council could make is to confirm the decision of the township to approve the application, refuse the application, or modify the decision of the township and impose any conditions council may see fit. Staff are present to answer any questions that council may have. Thank you.
Mr. Button. We will read the resolution.
That council approve, deny, modify with conditions, the application for the publicized display permit at 20 Fox Run Drive.
Thank you. Can I move for that? Councilor Spillis, second by Councilor Bailey. All right, questions, Councilor Spillis.
Yes, I have questions of staff. I was wondering if who would address them.
Sir.
I have questions of staff. Okay, we had the Halloween display and now we have the Christmas display. And the permitting for this Christmas display sort of came roughly before the actual Halloween display. Were there any things that were learned during the Halloween display that should have been picked up and incorporated into the this permitting?
Staff did not receive any complaints as far as I'm aware with the Halloween display. So there wasn't anything notable that we would be needing to incorporate specifically.
And in terms of a bylaw officer during the this period of the display, this Christmas display, what is their availability?
So the bylaw officer does work through his contract on regular business hours, but through that contract, he's also available to attend after hours if he gets a call, and he works with myself and the deputy clerk to determine if that's something where he needs to go out to visit during after hours. So it could be a safety concern that we're seeing that we could see potentially on the road that would prompt him to go out after hours.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilor Bailey.
Thank you. So it's suggested in the report that by approving the application, that some of the nuisance impacts can be mitigated. And so my question to staff is, what are some of the suggestions to mitigating some of the potential nuisances?
The permit itself, that process in itself is designed to help identify what some of those nuisances are by circulating and engaging with the community in the surrounding area to be able to find out what some of those are from their perspective. And again, in terms of nuisance, a suggestion that staff could make is that there is this show aspect of the display that as identified by Mr. Goose, does cause the parking congestion in front of the house for a period of 4 minutes plus the 20 seconds in between. So that could be a suggestion made by staff that perhaps the show portion of it be removed and it turned into a lights display, and that could help alleviate some of the nuisance concerns regarding parking. And then, of course, the major concern here is the emergency access concerns that the congestion is creating on the road. So another suggestion from staff, and we heard it from the appellant as well, is the requirement for paid duty officers to keep traffic moving and to keep things safe on the road, clear the way if emergency services need to have access to properties, that sort of thing.
And who would pay for those off-duty officers?
Staff would suggest that that be the responsibility of the property owner, the applicant.
We also heard from Mr. Holford that there was a question about liabilities, and I'm just curious on staff's response in regards to that, whether there was if a permit's issued and there is a safety liability issue, how does that, what's that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Just having heard this question here now, we haven't had the chance to pass it by our insurer, but I would think that there would at least be some partial liability to the municipality for if something happened in regards to permit that the municipality issued, yes.
My other question was answered. Thank you.
Councilor Hurst?
Yeah, do we have any firm evidence that a emergency vehicle such as an ambulance or a home care worker has been in fact delayed from doing their job due to prior events at 20 Foxrun?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the staff has not been made aware of that, but that may just be that information was directed to a different agency than the township, and that information may not be passed along to us in any event, but no, staff not aware of any validated occurrence of that.
Councilor Hurst?
That's it for me.
Councilor Goyette?
Yeah, I have a question about, in the delegation by Mr. Holford, he suggested or requested that we consider, as we've also said, Mississauga Foxville could be off-duty police officers. Is that something that, is that possible? Are paid off-duty officers? Is that something that they would do?
CEO?
I can speak to that. I put that question to the detachment commander of the OPP, and I had a conversation with him this morning about this. He said he would need some additional details before he could confirm one way or the other. He basically wanted to know the frequency of what this would be, the length of time per day, how many days, that type of thing. He said typically what happens for paid duty officers, it's a more of a one-off event, for example, like a bike race or a triathlon or something where it's on one day for 4 hours or something like that. So he said they would need some more information before he could commit one way or the other, but he said if it's more than a one-off, meaning like a one-day event, given the time of year, he felt that it would be very difficult to commit to that. They don't have enough staff for a lot of the normal duties that they would have. These would be off-duty officers. The number of off-duty officers at that time of year are less because they're so busy with ride programs and various things. So he said it might be possible for one day, but for him to confirm either way, he would need to know more of the specifics. So I was hoping to get more of the specifics here today as to what council might be considering. Then I could put that question to him and get a response.
Okay. So a follow-up question to that, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but both Mr. Holford in his presentation and Sean have both said that they would be willing to have volunteer traffic control, people in orange vests directing traffic. But from the township's perspective, is that something that is appropriate from, you know, a liability perspective or just even an authority to do such a thing? Could we implement a condition into this permit that there is manned traffic control in some shape or form? Or is that overstepping our authority, considering, you know, we're then taking on some liability for those volunteers?
That's something I have to look into further for you. I don't know if a person that's not designated with legislation by having authority to do something on a public road, if what the liability is associated with them doing something on a public road, where by default, police officers are designated that authority as part of their position. I know municipal staff, public works, for example, they are for short-term for construction projects. Those people are as part of, you know, book 7 and all that for construction activities. This doesn't fall into that. So we would have to look into that to see what legal authority private individuals or private firm or a volunteer would have one of them. I'd have to look into that for you.
Great. I'm just gonna have some comments first, Councilor Bailey, and then I'll come back to you. You had your hand up before?
Could we make comments now, or are you gonna?
I thought I did say
Oh,
my
sorry,
piece.
it's fine. No, sorry.
So I have concerns with this permit being issued, as mentioned by the Holford family, returning 20 Brock Road into a drive-in theater. And I'd like to ask the CAO, if we issue a permit and there is an issue on our road, and it's a sanctioned event, is there consequences to the municipality for that?
And with that exact question to our insurer, but I would think there would be at least some, yes.
And to Councillor Hurst, your question regarding whether there was documented instance of ambulance or fire truck impedance. I can only speak from my own experience. I attended this show 2017 and possibly 2018, once it became a community issue. I declined to attend. And I witnessed myself the congestion, the people standing on the roads on the busy weekends. I saw cars parked both sides of the road. So for me, the request from the Holford family of paid duty officers is appropriate if we're going to permit this. I would say to council that they could consider one paid duty officer if they're going to leave it at the same time frame as applied by Mr. Goose through the week. But on the weekend, then the presenter would need to up it to the 3 paid duty officers. That's when, as he admitted in his delegations, the busiest of the time. And I want to just make a point here. The only concern we have with Mr. Goose's Christmas decorations is the projector and the transmitter for the audio. He can decorate his house with as many Christmas decorations as anyone else can in this township. The bylaw officers are not driving around trying to police Christmas decorations and looking for people to apply for permits. This is when you're turning a residential area into a drive-in theater. It's not appropriate. So if it's going to be issued, I think council should consider the request of the paid duty officers, which the inspector indicates he can't commit to it. So it would likely be the day of or the day before. Mr. Goose would be notified whether the OPP has been able to secure paid duty officers. And if he's not able to secure paid duty officers, then he can't display the projection component of his Christmas lights. If he gets the duty officers, then he can carry on. So those are my comments on it. I think it's very important that we recognize that this is a residential community and that this is not about not permitting people to have Christmas decorations on their house. It's about the projection, the theater. That's so. Do you want to go around again? Because we're supposed to.
Yeah, I'm in favor of letting the display happen for the time frame he's indicated, and I agree that there should be some controls on it. And to me, the only legitimate way of having controls on it is having paid duty police officers. Whether or not he gets them all nights, it's up to him and the police officers to established. If there's no police officers, then I don't think we can allow the event the event on that particular day to happen. So I'm willing to move the motion that as part of a condition be added to the permit that the proponent obtain paid duty officers as the mayor suggested on Monday to Thursday, 1, and on weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 2.
Hey, can I get a seconder for that, please? Councillor Hurst. Okay, discussion. Councillor Bailey.
Well, we don't really know the liability response, right? We haven't asked. We don't know what that is. To me, hinging it on that seems a little bit much. I think I would be, what I've written down is 1 OPP officer the Friday or the Saturday as needed. I don't know if it would be needed throughout. The applicant suggested that Friday and Saturday were the busiest times. So I think those are our concerns over the traffic safety component.
Okay, Councillor Hurst.
Yeah, maybe two comments from my standpoint. I think one is, I think there's a good opportunity for a agreed upon traffic management plan with the display at 20 Fox Run. I think it needs to be well articulated to, if it is to go forward, it needs to be well articulated as to how that traffic needs to flow in an organized and safe manner. So I think that's one thing. I'm supportive of having a legal authority over traffic flow. Whether it's 1 police officer or 2, I think the concern would be, from my perspective, and I've been to the event on several occasions and I've seen the circumstance. I think the one thing that's important to note under Mr. Goose's current proposal is people are to remain in their cars throughout the process. And I think it's important that we don't have individuals walking on the street that are enjoying the display. So yeah, I think overall, I think the potential to have a legal authority that can manage traffic is vital to this from a community safety standpoint. But I'd like to see it move on. I think it's a good thing for the community. But I think we can, from a traffic flow management standpoint, we can make some certain recommendations and conditions that mitigate the risk.
Councillor, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I just want to start out by saying that, you know, I too, and I think probably all of us here enjoy seeing Christmas light displays throughout the township. There's lots of residents that do a really great job. It's something that brings joy. It's meant to be a positive experience. And I do believe that the intentions here are good. And as you said, Mayor Sealy, it's not our intention, it's not my intention, and I don't think it's anyone's intention to inhibit anyone from enjoying a Christmas light display. But I think it is important to recognize that in this particular case, it's not just a Christmas light display. It is an outdoor movie attraction, and that's what makes it different than all the other Christmas light displays in the township. It's not so much just a Christmas light display, it's more of a special event. That being said, I don't have a problem with the Christmas light display or the movie component. But I am concerned, and I also feel that it's our responsibility to make sure that public safety and the public roadway is not overrun. So that being said, I think if we're going to issue the permit and there's an identified concern regarding safety, that it is our obligation to do some due diligence in ensuring that we're doing something to address that concern. I think, you know, I think if something were to happen, and it had already been identified that this is a concern, and we went ahead and issued this permit without any kind of mitigation efforts in terms of traffic and safety. I don't think that would bode very well for the township. So I would be in favor of supporting at least 1 paid off-duty officer. I'm not an expert in determining how many officers are required to determine certain crowd control and certain traffic counts. But I would like to see at least 1 off-duty officer present to help direct traffic flow during the times where the display is taking place.
What do you have captured this?
That council modify the permit with conditions for a publicized display permit at 20 Fox Run Drive from December 19th to 26th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And that the condition be added to the permit that the proponent obtains paid duty officers in order to address safety concerns related to traffic management as follows. Monday through Thursday, 1 paid duty officer, and Friday through Sunday, 2 paid duty officers.
Okay, that's what's on the table. Do you want to add or remove Councillor Spills?
I'm fine the way it is. I understand what Councilor Gore is saying, at least one. I'm concerned about increased liability, more traffic on the weekends. I can see the argument that Councilor Bailey is saying perhaps we don't need one during Monday to Thursday. I'm flexible with that, but certainly on the weekend where we expect to have a high volume of traffic, I wouldn't go along with.
Does anybody know if the city of Guelph officers can be hired for paid duty? And like, are police officers not police officers in the entire province?
I don't know, I can find that.
So I'm supportive of this. We have a little bit of time. Maybe it, yeah, I'm supportive of it because I would like to see the paid duty officers through the week because of all the attention that we've been receiving. I'm expecting higher attendance than this had been able to be dealt with in a little bit quieter of a way. And especially on the weekend, I believe the 2 duty officers are required because it does get quite busy up there and I hate for something to happen and you know, and we were aware that there was potential for it. So. I'll just go around. John had a second one. Councilor Bailey?
Yeah, I think this is a good compromise. I mean, our job today was to be able to take the applicant and take the neighbors and come up with a compromise. And I think this sounds like we're letting the show component happen. We're letting the display happen. Letting the show component happen, which is really great. We need to be able to keep the traffic flowing and keep it safe. And I think maybe by introducing the police to come in, that would just help mitigate everything and the concerns there. So I'd be supportive.
Councilor Hurst, any further comments?
Okay, two brief ones. I think the first one is just a clarification that the cost of the paid duty officers would be borne by the permit holder. And the second, not for this particular one, but just to flag at some point, we should review the current bylaw and its existence and for applicability to the future.
Okay, so go ahead.
The only comment I wanted to make is that, just in terms of, we're suggesting that through the weekend, we have to do the paid duty officers. I just want to point out that the dates that are being requested for this display are the 19th through the 26th, which starts on a Monday and actually carries through to the following Monday, but the weekend happens to be Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So I don't know if that changes anything. Again, I'm not an expert in determining how many officers are required, but I would imagine that on Christmas Day it could be a significant challenge. Just wanted to.
Okay. All right, so you call the vote. All in favor? Yep, carried. I need to take a 2-minute recess to call my father to get my kids off the bus. If that's okay. All right, Ms. White Fox, do you have the confirmatory bylaw? Resolution, sorry.
That the following bylaw be taken as read 3 times and finally passed in open council. Bylaw 2022-049 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council for the corporation of the township of Cliffs Lynch at its meeting held on the 30th day of November 2022.
Can I get a mover for that? Councilor Wills, second by Councilor Hurst, all in favor? All right, and adjournment.
Council hereby adjourns at 3:45 p.m.
We need to move for that. Councilor Bailey, seconder. Councilor Spills, all in favor? That's it. I have to run. Sorry to leave this man.
Yeah.